everybody. Welcome to our inaugural episode of the InspHEration podcast. We're really excited to be here today. This is Amanda's first podcast.
Yes.
And she's really excited. I'm really excited because it's going to be, I think, a really fun adventure for us here.
Yeah, I've looked more forward to this than I have in anything for a long time. It's like been one of the most exciting things we've worked on so far.
Yeah. It's going to be inspiring.
Yes. So the reason we're doing this podcast is for all of you ladies out there in the credit union industry. We just really, we want to help you through the podcast. Just be the best version of yourselves. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that women in the industry deal with and the things that affect us from day to day. A lot of our clients are women, and we just, from working with all of those amazing ladies, we've, learned that they want something inspiring, and they want something that really is going to give them all the tools they need to be better leaders and, great coworkers and better at home and feel like they're having more of that work-life balance that we all struggle for that's very elusive.
I'm also really excited because obviously, we are going to have credit union perspectives and people within the industry, and we love talking to people that we know and people we admire here in credit unions. But we're also going to have some outside perspectives, which I think is really cool, just to bring diversity to the kinds of topics we're offering and expertise from all different areas. So I think that's going to be really neat to add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've already got a lot of interviews lined up for, I think, at least 10 episodes out. We've got some big hitters in the credit union industry, people I've looked up to for a long time, friends of mine, just from, going to conferences and things. So and then we also do have some, like Liz said, some really great outside of the industry. So we're really covering a lot of different aspects. It's not just about, how do I go to work and be a better CEO or a better marketer. It's really going to be impact everything in the listeners' lives, hopefully. I know we're learning a lot through this process too, which is one of the best parts about it, I think.
That's what I love about podcasts, and just because I do have another one, so I have, basically that's my trial run for this one, which is going to be, I don't want to say better, different. But you learn just as much about you as listeners do about whatever topic we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the coolest parts is like, it's a shared self-discovery experience, sort of. Mm-hmm. So you guys to get to join us in that self-discovery experience.
Yeah, and you'll see throughout the podcast that we're going to have a lot of
cool mugs.
We have a lot of cool mugs. You'll see a lot of cool mugs.
There's not champagne in that.
No, this is root beer.
She wishes.
And you'll see a lot of cool mugs, inspirational notebooks, lots of Kate Spade. That's kind of how we roll here.
Yeah.
We like pretty things.
Yeah. Surely do.
So why we're doing the podcast. We're really, again, through being in the industry, this is my 15th year in the industry. You've been in it for
6.
Yeah. I know, time flies. So, in being in the credit union industry, and it is like a family, you make so many friends. I mean, we worked together before and became really close friends. And, there are a lot of great resources out there from a national standpoint and some books and things like that, but there's nothing specifically geared toward credit union women. Young women in the industry, which I know is a problem in keeping young talent, keeping and retaining young talent of males and females. That's a problem that the industry really faces into. There's not a lot of resources for, the leaders, more so in credit union history than ever before. There are a lot more female CEOs out there, a lot more women in leadership. So we wanted to have something out there that, you could listen to in your car or when you're out on a walk or maybe on your break, or just something to really go to have some sunshine in your day. That's why we're doing the podcast. We want to make a difference in the credit union industry, and we know that you do too. So we want to make sure that resource is out there.
And they say, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You say that all the time. So we'd like to be. We won't count ourselves as 2 people. That seems a little presumptuous, but we can count ourselves as the podcast is a person, and you can surround yourself with us and be part of our tribe, and we can be part of yours. So
absolutely. Cool. Yeah. So this is the first episode of the podcast. We don't have a guest speaker, and we really want to get to know you guys, and we want you to get to know us a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about just, how we came to be in the credit union space, and just give you a little bit of information about us too, because this, like I said, you guys are going to become part of our tribe, and we hope to be invited to become part of your tribe.
Definitely.
So tell us about your journey in the credit union space.
Oh, Lordy. Well, like everyone's, they didn't plan it, because nobody plans their journey in the credit union space unless they're a legacy, or have, maybe were powerfully impacted by one as a young youth account member. I don't know. But mine was not that way. I actually wanted to do arts administration when I graduated college. So I wanted to do marketing and communications, but I thought that was going to be in a music space, which is what I went to school for. And I saw an advertisement online for a credit union. Didn't know what it was. I can't believe I actually applied. I think I was, full disclosure, I think I was getting really desperate. It was like kind of down to the wire. Like I didn't want to graduate college and still work at Panera Bread.
There's probably a lot of listeners that are like,
that was me. Yeah. So I'm looking and I was like, oh, I think I had like nonprofit selected on Indeed. And it said a financial not-for-profit. And I was like, well, it's kind of similar, try to justify it. So I ended up working at a credit union as a receptionist, which actually I look back on very, very fondly, because it gave me the opportunity to learn all sorts of different areas of the credit union space that helped me be a better marketer. Like I had a really good idea of what people on the front lines faced all the time, what communication flow looked like, and what people would need to know to better do their jobs. So I very fondly look back on my times answering phones, even the times that I had more difficult people to deal with. There are some challenging
very
situations.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, look at me. So at the time we met, our credit unions merged, and we became a marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
And so I transitioned, because of my background in school, I transitioned from receptionist to the marketing department at my credit union. And we did a lot of really cool things. We did a rebrand, a big rebrand, other rebrands, card conversions, core conversions, all of the things. So I was kind of thrown into my credit union marketing experience, like, here, try a little bit of everything, which again, I think was really, really wonderful for me, because I'm kind of a doer. I learn best, I think, by just getting in and doing, even when it makes me uncomfortable. And that was the situation I found myself in, and I learned a lot. So now I work with TwoScore, and I am the VP of Marketing and Client Services. We work together, and we currently help credit unions rock through marketing. And we're a fun team, and this is a new venture. And I'm kind of excited to see where this area on the other side of credit unions takes me. But I think I love most about what I do now that I still get to be in a credit union, because we work with so many. So I get to still feel connected, still see staff engagement, and be a part of that whole culture experience, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
So.
If anything, because I was asked that when I left the credit union that we worked for. I had a friend who contacted me and said, why would you leave the credit union? And I said, well, most people in the credit union industry are here because they love it. Credit unions don't have the highest salaries of any job, and they don't have a lot of the flexibility and benefits that other companies have, because we're, customer service related. And,
right.
So it's because we're here because we love it. And I had said, after I thought about it a long time, whether or not I wanted to go out and be a consultant. And the thing that I really learned through the process was that like you said, we get to work with like 20 some credit unions all across the country. So and
they're all very different.
Yeah. So we get to see what they're doing, and we see ourselves as employees of the credit unions that we work with, and we call ourselves part of their team, and they love that about us. So I don't feel like I don't work for a credit union. I feel like I work for like 25 of them, which is great.
Yeah.
So,
well, tell us about your journey. It's longer than mine.
It is. It is. Even though I'm perpetually 32, like you say, and that's fine with me.
Amanda, did I meet you when you were 32? No, that's not right. We won't discuss Amanda's age, but
I'm 25.
Yeah. I put her at 32 always. And when I meet someone, usually I just give them an age, and then they stay forever that age. Like my mom's always like 40.
That works out.
So, which I'm sure she'd love to hear.
Except you're ever creeping up to that.
Right. One day we'll be the same age, my mom and I. Then she's truly made it.
My goodness. See, this is just every day for us.
Yeah. Yeah. No champagne in here. It's coffee. We promise. But
we drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
So my journey in the credit union space started out much like yours. I had no idea what a credit union was. I actually thought it was the place that you go and get discount amusement park tickets. And it's funny because my dad was actually a board member at the credit union for his company. It was a seg-based credit union. They were a smaller credit union, but
did he never came home and was like, the day on the board?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I talked to a credit union. I think she was a marketer the other day, and I talked to her for a long time, and she said, oh, my mom is the CEO of the credit union. And I remember when I was really little, we were stuffing envelopes for a direct mail, and I was sitting on my bed in my bedroom helping my mom. I thought that was so cute.
So small credit union.
I know, but it just makes my heart happy to see how things have evolved over time. And credit unions are still really scrappy, especially the small ones. So that's where my heart lies. So my career in credit union started in 2002. So I've been doing this for over 15 years now. It was my first job out of college. It was go to Chicago and work for a magazine, which was truly kind of in my heart of hearts what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a journalist. And
I didn't know that. I've known you for a long time, and I did not know that option was on the table.
Yeah, I had two really great job offers. One of them was for the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America's, I think monthly magazine. And I was like, ooh, move to the big city, get a job at a magazine. Because I ultimately wanted to work for Glamour magazine and which
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah, I like fashion. So it was either that or get a job at a local credit union as their marketing director. And it was actually a really good position, offered me a good salary, and it was a good opportunity. And I also, you'll find out later when I tell the story about how TwoScore founded, my family is really important to me, and I just didn't want to go live that far away from them. So that's ultimately why I started working at a credit union. But I worked over the course of my career, I worked for 11 years in a credit union. One of them, the first one I worked for was about $150 million, a union-based credit union, which was very interesting. So I was on the management team, but the frontline staff and all the employees who were non-management were unionized. So it was
it's interesting.
It's hard to learn to be in a work environment anyway, but I think that added definitely another hurdle. And it's where I got a passion for employee engagement and culture at such a young professional age, because I saw how things had to work in order to get, with the boundaries and everything. So I worked there for 4 years and then got a job at a $37 million credit union that worked, that they said all the time that they act like a $300 million credit union. And it's one of the favoriteest jobs that I've ever had. I loved working there. I worked there for 7 years. And then Liz's credit union and my credit union merged together. And that's how she and I got to work together. So over that time, we had a lot of fun. And my boss, Greg Kidwell,
we love you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We love Greg.
He's the best boss I've ever had. Really taught me a lot about the financials. I'll never forget the first staff meeting that he brought in a 5300 report, and I had never heard of that in my life ever. And by that time, I had been a credit union employee for about 5 years. And
really?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about what it was at all. Obviously I knew that there were reports and an accountant and all that sort of thing, but I didn't know anything about how credit unions made money or why or anything like that.
Things that we should probably know.
Yeah, exactly. We're marketers. So he, for the entire staff meeting, one month, he printed off the 5300 report and gave one out to every single person at the credit union. And
they were like, happy birthday to me.
We were like, OMG, what are we going to do with this? Why is this relevant? And throughout the course of the next several months, every staff meeting, we went over something different from the call report. So one month we learned how to calculate loan to shares and why it was important. And we talked about delinquency. We talked about runoff. We use runoff all the time in the course of doing our jobs with TwoScore. So I learned learned a lot. And I think he really helped me learn the financial background of being a good marketer and he just trusted like my crazy ideas. He's like, in my interview, which is what made me want to work there so much. He said, we are not expecting you to hit a bunch of home runs. Don't come in swinging for the fences all the time. We want consistent base hits. But we do want you to apply your knowledge and your skill set and learn things and try them. We don't expect that everything you do is going to work. And if it doesn't work, it means you're trying something new. And that's what we want to see.
Oh, Greg and his wisdom.
Yes.
I love it.
That's what made me so excited about that job. And we just had so much fun. So long-winded story. That is my credit union history. And I drank the Kool-Aid and love getting to work with so many credit unions now through being part of TwoScore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we tell our listeners that don't know us some like little fun nuggets about ourselves? Just
Okay.
for fun.
All right.
I'll start. I love very passionately hip hop dance.
You do. You were just doing that.
I did it upstairs like 10 minutes ago. I don't know why. I think it's because I always wanted to do dance and my mom never put me in dance, which makes me kind of question my dance abilities. Like maybe she was like, oh, she can't dance. I don't know. But now I take classes all the time now. And it's the one, I think also because the moves change every like 8 beats. So you can't really get too tired of something because it's going to change really soon. Mm-hmm. And I know when it's going to change because you can like tell by the beats. So I love hip hop dance. Like I said, I have another podcast with my best friend, Nina.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Amanda was on it, episode
20.
I was like 20. That was my guess.
Wine and Shine.
Wine and Shine. So it's a little more health and wellness focused and a lot of different topics. But I love the way that we can bring some of those elements to what we're doing with our podcast because there is some relation there. Mm-hmm. So I have that. I love to eat more than anything else in the entire world. Like passionately love to eat. Actually, Amanda was the first that introduced me to cheese and like antipasto plates and fruit and other.
My world.
Yeah. So life changed. And I have 3 pets. So I live in a zoo, but I love them all. That's probably it. What about you?
I was just thinking there's a lot more to you than all of that. You're super creative and funny and all that. So
I make weird faces.
You
all
do.
The time. And I don't know I'm doing it.
Burst out in song constantly.
I do. That's a problem. No. So I'll probably sing on here and you'll be like, all right, we're gonna skip this now. But
let's talk about some things that we've really done to take ourselves out of our comfort zone. One of the things that I've learned about being not even an entrepreneur, but just the things that have made me successful over the career, the things that I'm most proud of are times when I've really pushed myself out of my comfort zone and just wanted to talk a little bit about that. You know, this podcast, we're going to become like super vulnerable and truly share the things that we've struggled with and our fears. And so we're going to start off by talking about our fears and the things that we've done to take ourselves out of our comfort zones.
Yeah. So I'll go first because I don't know. I like oversharing information about myself. Too. So here we go. Being here, like being at this company is the biggest thing I've ever done outside of my comfort zone because I had a job, a very stable job, a job I really liked, a job with people I liked, a job in an industry I liked. Like there was no reason to change anything. So a lot of people are moved to make that decision for relocation or a variety of other reasons. And mine was just because I wanted to push myself and do something new, which is really unlike me. So I know, though, that I don't grow if I am staying still and not challenging myself to have new experiences. So when the opportunity came, I was like, I can either do it safe, like I always do in literally every area of my life, or I can take a chance and do something really cool. And we don't know where it's, not that we don't know where it's going, but it has the ability to evolve in so many different ways like this. Like this is an evolution.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest leap I've ever taken, and maybe will ever take. I don't know. So I don't live a very exciting life.
Oh, you do too.
But,
Okay, so a question for you. Because you took such a big risk, what do you feel like is the thing or some things that you learned about yourself through the process?
oh, geez. I learned to trust my own abilities more than I had been. Because you don't think you can do something. Like, even though I made the switch, in my head, I had that voice being like, you're not going to do a good job. Like, you're going to do a really crappy job. And I had to ignore that voice and trust that I could do it and listen to my strengths and feel comfortable in myself, or try to, more than I ever had before. And so, yeah.
It's been neat seeing you on this journey, actually. Like when you first started.
It's a mess.
No.
I'm kidding.
I mean, I knew it.
I knew you were a mess.
No.
I'm kidding.
I just meant that you always have the euphoria of trying a new job, and you get to work from home, and there's a lot of benefits to it, but it's a huge adjustment going from being a credit union executive and any function, but you were in a marketing role at marketing executive, going from that to consultant.
Yeah.
It's a big transition.
So another thing for me too was I was used to, I worked with you in the marketing department, and then I worked with another great leader, and I reported directly to them and worked daily with them all the time. And then all of a sudden I was working with CEOs, and there's like CEOs. So there was a little bit of like, sometimes you have to humanize people and be like, okay, they have a different title than me. They do something different than me, but they're people and humans, and they have the same fears and emotions and problems and, successes that I have. So.
And they hired us.
Right.
Because they want our expertise and your expertise.
So that was a big transition too, was moving from being in a department to working directly with CEOs and boards. And something that I was really nervous about, that I just had to, it's been a lot of just jumping in and figuring it out.
Making a mess and then seeing what comes out of it.
Yeah. But we've had a lot of really cool things come out like this. I mean, we get to just say this is something we really are passionate about and we want to do and we want to share, and we can just do it because there's flexibility, and I love it. So.
Pursue your dreams.
Yeah. What's stepping outside of your comfort zone, Amanda?
Definitely starting the company.
Well, yeah, that's
I mean, but I have the same things. I mean, I don't want to say every woman deals with this, but I think that more women deal with confidence in a professional setting than men do. And I think in this industry, because there have historically been more men in the leadership roles, and now women are starting to ascend to those, there's some confidence that needs to be overcome. And two, I speak on this a lot. I was actually talking about this at a conference last week. Learning how to speak CEO is very hard, because we're taught, get this campaign, write these headlines, do this, do this, do this. And we're thinking about it in, like, from a marketing standpoint, we're thinking about things in marketing terms. What's the ROI, and how do I make this email blast or this digital ad, and how do I get that? But our responsibility is to make sure that we execute the marketing plan as marketers and make sure that it's successful. A CEO's responsibility is completely different. A CEO's responsibility is to make the credit union successful, and also make sure that it has the biggest return on investment for every dollar that he or she could do with that money. They could invest in technology or people, or lots of different things. But if you invest in marketing, actually you can have the greatest return of anything that you do. And so learning how to take what I do every day and put my CEO hat on, learning to speak that way, that was something that I learned quickly as a consultant, because somebody wants to hire somebody and have them say, well, I think that's going to work.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll go to whirl.
Yeah, so that's definitely been one. Just learning how to take myself more seriously, learning that I didn't have to be perfect at everything. I've actually learned through this process more about what I love to do and what I don't like, more so than any other thing I've ever done. Like, I know that I have a really strong strategic mind, but some things I really struggle with. But we've hired those strengths around us so we're strong in every area. And that's been a big relief for me, and just the confidence thing, and a lot of different ways. One of the things that I learned was at the behest of my mentor, Andy Janning, who will be a guest on this show. He is lined up already. Yes. Guilt is also something that I feel like a lot of females deal with, professionally and personally. But, I had this feeling of guilt all the time. Like, oh, if I just did one more project, or if I just put 5 more minutes into this, or like, and he said, don't let guilt be the CEO of your company. Don't let it sit across from you at your desk and like make you do things the way that you wouldn't do them, because you're coming from a place of guilt. Then you're not coming from your strongest place. And I have that written in my planner, and I look at it every day, and it's really been something that I've learned through this process.
And I feel like no one will want to know that guilt is what's driving the ship. When it comes to, if you're interacting with someone and they're doing a project for you, doing anything based on because they feel like they should, or, they can't go home, or that's not you. That doesn't make anyone feel good to know that's where someone else's actions are coming from.
Exactly. And you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell if somebody's being genuine or not, for sure, what their true motives are to things.
Yeah.
What is the one thing or some things that you have done that have been the most beneficial for your career?
I think I'm trying to work on being more curious right now. And I'm actually really inherently a curious person, but sometimes that doesn't translate professionally. Like, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for why. It's harder for me to ask questions at work than it is in just like, I wonder what the celebrity is doing. Like, I don't know.
You can't Google stuff for work.
Right. Maybe that's just not as easy. So I'm trying to be more curious, but I do remember asking a lot, maybe too many questions when I worked in a credit union, of people in different areas, and asking how the things that I was going to do would impact their areas, or vice versa. What are you doing? How is that going to affect this department, or how is this going to affect me? So actually listening and becoming very well acquainted with people in all areas of the credit union, I think was the most beneficial thing for me, because when I do things in my career now, when I work with clients and things come up, I think operationally, or I think from an IT standpoint, or do we need to get this programmed in our system before we do that intro rate? Like, there are things from being so involved in all of the areas that make the ship run that I think help me do my job better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I can see that. I mean, I was in a marketing department by myself for almost 11 years. And then I got to work with you. I know I have a picture of like a sad looking little kitten in a presentation that I do. And it says like, I'll be over here all by myself. That's kind of how I felt.
Aww.
I mean, I think a lot of people think of that as, when they think of marketers, especially, obviously I'm super biased, but we have hard jobs. It's a hard job because you have so many things you're responsible for, and your job is out there for everyone else to critique and see and think that they could do a better job. And there's a lot, it's hard. And I think too, everybody thinks that they're a marketer. Everyone thinks they're a great marketer.
And they are in their way.
Yes.
But they're not executing it. They are in like maybe a member facing way and putting the face to a credit union, but they're not in like the strategy kind of way.
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah. Somebody told me once, like, what do you just sit in your office and color all day? No, definitely not. I would love to color. Bring me a coloring book and some Crayolas and I'm going to be set. That's why they make adult coloring books now. Have you ever seen those? They're awesome. So yeah, marketing's a hard job for sure. Some of the most beneficial things I've done for my career is actually probably the most beneficial thing I've ever done, and not for my career, it's just for my life in general, is realize that I can't do everything myself. And I stopped trying to make myself be perfect at every single thing and try to do everything on my own. A, it's very lonely, and B, two heads is better than one brain, and 5 heads is better than 2. And so early on, I believe I had my first professional mentor at the age of 25. 26, something like that. And I didn't even ask him. He was actually at the agency that we worked for, our design firm. They were across the street. And he just kind of took me under his wing. And I really got a taste of like, oh my gosh, it's so great having somebody who's in your court who you could say like, I had this really bad meeting today and I didn't really know how to handle this situation, or what would you do? Or having them know, because they're your mentor, they know your strengths and they really help you flesh out what it is that you want for your life. I hadn't had anybody in my life before that. And tragically, he passed away in a car accident in 2010. And there was a huge hole in my life in that role at that time. And I found a new mentor. And just by having other people in my life, I met my husband during that time too. And he's also obviously involved in his career. So long story short, the most beneficial thing I've done for my career is to get a mentor, have a mentor. It's changed over time. My current mentor has been my mentor about 4 years. And we wouldn't be sitting doing this podcast right now in my home office as employees of my company if it weren't for him. And it's just been great. My husband and I actually have marriage mentors that we see on a monthly basis. So it just, like you said earlier, the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And if you have people who love you unconditionally and challenge you to be your best self, it makes life so much more rewarding outside of work and in the office.
Definitely. Yeah. Your board of directors.
Yes, my board of directors. Yeah. So, talking about our lives and obviously, everybody isn't just work all the time.
Right.
Our listeners and us, we have lives outside of the office and that we really need to be drawing inspiration from. What are the things that inspire you?
Oh, geez. I have this weird relationship with nature where I don't love to be in it all the time, but I am very inspired by it when I see things of beauty. I know that's weird. Sometimes, I don't know, nature for me puts things in perspective of how small I really am and how, I hate to say it, my problems don't matter, because they do, but they matter.
I'm sorry, I'm just remembering what you said today.
If you want some words, it was, here's some stress relief from Liz. Amanda was feeling stressed, and I said, if it makes you feel better, we all die. And it doesn't matter anymore. It's the most morbid thing I've ever said.
Ironically, it did make me feel better.
It's true.
Like, am I going to be worried about what was going on today in like 20 years? No. Did it matter? No.
So, no, I find nature puts things in perspective for me when I go out and take a walk. Just kind of being by myself. I'm an extrovert technically, but I really do require some recharging time, and that like being out and just seriously taking a walk, I love just to reflect and have new ideas. And for me, podcasts, like I have an arsenal of different ideas and different perspectives to pull from. Some that are not really industry related, but some that are business specific and some that are just life helping. And I find a lot of inspiration from, just other leaders and their ideas. And so podcasts have really helped me personally. I find inspiration lots of places. I don't know. What about you?
I think I love art. Just beautiful things. Art is something like anytime going to a museum and seeing a beautiful painting or statues. I like statues. Sculptures, I guess, is the technical term. I am not an artist. I had no
idea. So.
Yeah, like we were in the Louvre a couple years ago, last year, and seeing the Venus de Milo, the one that has the arm missing. She was just beautiful. I just stood there and cried. It was so lovely. I love art. Traveling is something that I really, and I think like I love working from home because it allows us to keep our costs down. And, you know, I can be available to my clients all of the time, but that also comes with my husband when he gets home from work. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. What'd you see? What'd you do today? Let's go out to happy hour. So I do find that staycations and things are harder because I am home a lot. So traveling is definitely something that I find to be very relaxing and inspiring, being outside of my comfort zone, traveling. You know, we don't go on like huge elaborate trips every single year, but I find that like if I'm in a country where like I don't speak the language fluently and I have to try to figure things out, and traveling, something really always stands out to surprise you. Like last year, something that really surprised me and I just got tickled to death from it was we were driving in Switzerland in the Alps, and I kept hearing this dinging, this like tinkling, and I couldn't for the life of me figure this out. But the Alps are where they make a lot of the wonderful cheeses. Oh my gosh.
That I eat.
Oh yeah. So good. Gruyere and all of them. Well, we saw these pastures, these alpine pastures everywhere we went. And the cows had these bells. I'm not kidding. They were probably this big and they were shaped not like a typical cowbell. And they were all different colors and they were tied around their necks with these beautiful, articulately embroidered leather straps. And
Wow.
I found out that it was the bells on the cows that were tingling.
Like from a distance.
Yeah, it was like the Polar Express, the bell from the Polar Express. Yeah. It was like that, but it was the most beautiful sound. So you could drive down the road and have the windows down and hear this all different
I think it's timbres
of bells. And it was one of the things I honestly it's just one of those unexpected things that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I love it.
I feel like experiences like that, I don't know. I feel like those emotive experiences and those connections that you have, like traveling or whatever you're doing, they really do like come back and help you professionally and personally in their own ways.
Oh yeah.
And we've talked about how necessary recharging is like all the time. Which kind of leads me to my next question. Like, let's talk balance. Because I feel like a lot of women are like, yeah, let's talk work-life balance. Which I hate that term.
What do you mean, Liz? I have it all figured out.
That's why we're here. We know the answers and we're bestowing them on you.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, I work-life balance is something that I think everybody chases. Mm-hmm. I read a book once called Off Balance on Purpose, and it was years ago. I don't remember very much of the book, but the premise of the book was that at any given time, there's always one area of your life that is out of balance on purpose, so you could make something happen in some other area. But if you find the things that are non-negotiables, I definitely think that's part of it. Balance is something, it's one of our core values. Like taking vacation time is mandatory here. So when I take vacation, I unplug.
Take it hard.
I do. I go full on. But balance is something that's really important, but you have those non-negotiables. So I have a back injury, and they said, if you want to live with less pain, make sure that you stay active. Plus it just helps me like stress wise. So I work out a lot. Most days of the week, a majority of days of the week. I always have date night with my husband. Friday nights, it's a non-negotiable. So I think I'm getting closer to figuring it out. It's going to change as I get older. But if you have those non-negotiables in your life and you stick with them, it helps everything else stay in perspective.
I think for me, balance has been, and I feel like at the baby stages of finding balance. I'm not inherently good at it. I think for me, it's been all about knowing myself and acknowledging who I am and being okay with it that helps me find balance. Like things like how I run my day on a daily work day. I know that I take a really long time to get ready in the morning. And I feel like having a good sense of who I am and how I best work in a daily work environment, like from a routine standpoint, helps me to find balance. Like today, I've been in a really good mood today.
You were so zen when you got here today.
I'm really trying to be zen because
I needed it.
My default setting is to like literally pull chunks of my hair out of my own scalp. So I have to work really hard to not let stress rule my life. And I don't want to say a long time getting ready today, but I woke up. I did, for me, I meditate. It helps me be focused. I did that. I drank some tea. I just sat and like looked at the, pretty outside. I have a nice view outside my apartment. I listened to a podcast. I mean, it wasn't dilly-dallying. I was working like still at a normal work time, but I gave myself kind of time to work into the day. And those habits set me up for success then, so I can have a good work day. And then subsequently after work, when I kind of switch back into personal mode and do hobbies or whatever it is I'm doing, I've been set up to feel like, all right, I had a good work day and now I can transition to this other side of me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do.
We're going to talk a lot about books on this podcast too. And what you were saying reminds me of a book that I read several years ago called Today We Are Rich by Tim Sanders. And he talks about how Americans, especially professionals, the first thing we reach for when we wake up is our iPhone or our BlackBerry or whatever it is.
Can't do it.
And you have no control over whatsoever what you're about ready to see. Somebody could send you a hateful email. Your boss could say, you did this wrong. You could find out that there was a terrorist attack. Like you're not controlling what you're put in your mind, especially the first thing in the morning, which really sets you up for your entire day. That sets the direction for your entire day. So that reminded me of that book.
Yeah. No.
So you're very deliberate about that.
I am.
I need to take a page from your book.
Well, let me read. I'm trying to be deliberate about that. This is like maybe once every 5 days I do it well.
That's 20%.
Yeah.
That's better than a lot of people, better than me.
So I think that gives our listeners a good idea of who we are. Let's kind of tell them what they get for the next however long we decide to do this podcast.
I hope it goes a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope it goes a long time. Like we said earlier, we really want it to be, this isn't about, how to be a better CEO or how to be a better marketer. It's going more globally than that, like talking about how to be vulnerable at work and use emotional intelligence and how that actually makes you a stronger leader than, pretending that we have it figured out. That actually makes us very unapproachable. And so people really like vulnerability in the workplace. So how to be, that's one of the things we're actually going to talk about. We're going to have my friend Dan on in a couple of months. He's a leadership coach actually out in Los Angeles. And he's going to talk about how to use emotional intelligence really in a workplace, but all across your life. And we've got...
We're talking about something that's really very personal to me. And that's, you don't think of body image when you think of the workplace. That seems like leave that at home. But how we view ourselves from an image perspective is the foundation of how you do your job. Because if you're sitting there saying, I hate myself, I'm disgusting, I can't stand myself, I'm the worst, and you're filling yourself with this negative self-talk, I'm a firm believer, because I've seen it played out, you are your thoughts.
Absolutely.
If you think it, you manifest it. And it's a really sad cycle that you can get yourself into. And so I think image and, just not even related to body specifically, but just how you view yourself as a person and see yourself and see your strengths and weaknesses and how you tackle those. I think that that's really important to make sure that you're viewing yourself positively so that you're doing your job positively. So we'll talk about how to better do that.
We've got one on how to ask for a raise, because I think too. I think women have really come a long way in this industry, and I think and I have to say too, because this is definitely not a podcast for man haters.
No, we love men.
We do.
We're married to men.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors. A man, Andy Joning, Greg Kidwell. We mentioned him earlier. My best boss I've ever had. So it's not about things women deal with solely, but I know that there is pay inequality in this industry between men and women. And, I think women can do more to help change that. And so we're going to talk to some experts on how to ask for a raise and how to justify more salary. We actually just talked to somebody today and she got passed up for a promotion. She's a friend of ours and she wasn't even considered for it really. They just kind of passed up. And I know like, if she had the skills to be able to say, here's what I'm bringing to the table and here's what I deserve and here's really the value that I'm bringing to the credit union. I think we all need to learn how to do that. I need to do a better job of that. Everybody needs to learn that. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about too, is just really how to stand in your own value, know your own value, stand in it, knowing what your triggers are. Oh dear.
Key.
We're going to be talking to somebody about that. We're talking about,
finding your voice. That's been a big one for me personally. Not doubting that your voice has value and making sure that you feel comfortable, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, that doesn't really matter. Making sure that your opinions are being heard by the people that matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I think I actually wrote a blog post about it last week. It's sometimes very uncomfortable to say something that's against the grain of what you feel like somebody else is thinking or what you think they're going to do or what you think they might do if you say something. But if you don't say anything, you're really only hurting yourself. Yeah. We're not hired into our credit unions for the most part to sit and be yes people. Yeah. We're hired because we each have our own individual skills and our own value, and learning how to, step up and say, I know we maybe didn't agree on this, but here's what I think we need to do. Here's why I think it'll be successful, and really stand on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Burnout.
Burnout. Yeah, that's actually the next podcast that we have. Andy Janning is going to be our guest speaker, and he's going to be, he's just going to be our guest, not our guest speaker. We're going to have him on the podcast, and he's going to talk about the signs of burnout, how to recognize it. I know
it is reversible. That's the good news. Like sometimes if you've ever been in burnout, you feel like you'll never get out of it. But there are things you can do to make sure you're not in that cycle anymore.
Yeah. So we're going to have somebody else come on and talk about, I know there's people out there who maybe they're not really happy with their jobs. They want to stay in credit unions because they love them. So we're going to have somebody talk about, how to brush up your resume and how to ask for that promotion or how to go try to get a different job within the credit unions. So we're going to have somebody come on and talk about that too.
Yeah. We've got lots of cool things I'm really excited about. This just goes back to how stoked I am to be sharing all this with the interwebs and helping people. And, these are topics we've just given you a taste today, but we'll say this every episode, this is a resource and something that we hope you will love and turn to, like we said, like as part of your tribe. And so that means providing you with the most value that we possibly can. And so please, like if there's something like you guys have not talked about XYZ and I know people want to know about it. So like, let us know, because we're doing this for you guys. And it's something obviously I'm sure that we would like to learn about too. So topic ideas are always very welcome and very appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So in addition to having wonderful guests on each podcast to talk about one of many topics that are really important to women in this industry, we're also going to be doing book reviews. We've already talked about a couple of books that we've just read that have really helped us, but I'm actually going to be reviewing, and I think it's right here. Oh, yes. The first book that we are reviewing is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. So that will be on in
May 5th. Oh, wait. This will not be in May. Hayden, cut that out.
Mid-June.
Yeah, mid-June.
Yeah, around middle of June. So readers, if you want to read along and review it with me for that podcast, Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, who is one of my personal heroes. And I'm hoping that one day I can call her up and say, hey, do you want to be a guest on our podcast? And she's going to say,
absolutely, I would. You're the best.
So,
the one to close this up, I want to kind of pose a question to our listeners every single week. We've talked about this, having takeaways, having this kind of be sort of like a little coaching, mentoring session for you. So we're going to ask you guys, take a second at the end of every episode, whenever you're done listening to this. I highly suggest for those, since we're just getting started, I would highly suggest having like a journal and a pen handy to take some notes. But I would say ask yourself at the end of every episode, what is the one thing that you are going to commit to doing this week or be better at? And write it down. I think it'd be cool to see, we put these out once every 2 weeks. See how that changes. See how you reach things. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it starts this self-accountability process. If you write something down, and I could tell you a million stories about how this has played out in my life. But when you write something down, it actually starts the self-accountability process. So if you want to share what it is that you're committing yourself to over the next week or two,
let us know too.
Let us know. We'd love to hear, if there's anything that you really get out of the podcast, if this helps you in any way, which is truly what we want to happen. We want to, even if there's just one person that we've really, really had like a tremendous impact on by sharing the resources that we have and the speakers here, that's really what we wanted with the podcast. And if you've had something significant happen in your life, please share it. We'd share it on the air if you'd like. We won't have to use your name.
Yeah.
But we're here to make a big impact, and we really want to help you out. And you're going to help us out too, just by being part of our tribe, like we said earlier.
Yeah. So let's talk about next steps for keeping in touch with us. We have our website, www.InspHERationpodcast.com. That's INSP, her, as in ladies, AsianPodcast.com.
Inspiration Nation.
Yes, the inspiration. I love that. You can also find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look again for InspHERation Podcast. And the way we can really make this the best resource for you is making sure people know about this. So share our episodes on social media. We're going to have different quotes. Share those with someone you think would get a lot of value out of it. And share the episode and subscribe on iTunes. Leave us a review, like we mentioned earlier, with topic episodes. Let us know what you think. Really go to iTunes, rate us, review us, share us. We want the word spread. So you can also, on our website, on the InspHERation Podcast website, you can sign up for our emails that will be sent out. So if you want to hear from us more often and get some exclusive video content, you can do that on our website. And then if you have any questions or topic ideas, comments, concerns, any of the above, send those to info@InspHERationpodcast.com.
We are your tribe.
We're here for you. So go forth and be fabulous.
Bye.
Bye.